Man, can you make some noise if you have been here and he's already ready here. Just enjoy. Woo! Y'all hype. Y'all already on point, right? Can you make some noise if you have been here at least one Sunday during our Human Connection series, right? You're here now, so it should have been 100% participation, right? We're in the middle of this. But this series has been incredible. Man, I've loved all the conversations that Pastor Erwin has been guiding and leading us in, that we've had together, talking about the necessity of forgiveness and how when we choose to forgive, it unlocks something in us that helps us connect to each other as humans. Or we even talked about community, that how valuable that the human story is when we come together, and we were never created to live in isolation, but we actually need each other when we created this thing called community. Last week, we talked about friendship, right? And that sometimes you gotta have people that you can just draw in close, and you can learn how to become a better friend. You can learn how to create stories in community where friendship is a natural part of what we do. And every week, we've been jumping on different themes, and I've just loved this idea that us as humans, there's something unique about us that is different than any other species, is that we naturally are trying to figure out how to connect to one another. That we are trying to establish what it means to be human, and the reality that we will die when we choose isolation, but we will fully live when we choose to be in community together. And this is why nights like this matter, where we fill up a room with expectation. And I want to continue our conversation around the human connection. And really what spawned the thought that I want to share with you today is we are 2 weeks away from having baby number 3 in our house, and it's crazy. In fact, Eric Wall, you have my phone. Make sure that you're watching it. My wife says 911, it's go time. And Pastor David Arcos is going to finish the message, right? But we're in the middle of it, and so we're cleaning out our house. We're getting everything ready for this baby. And the other day, I was cleaning out my drawer, right? Next to my bed, the night table, whatever that's called. You know, you have that drawer in your house that's filled with all the stuff that you think you don't care about, you don't realize you need until you find out it's there. You know what I'm talking about? Just the junk drawer, right? And I'm pulling it out, and I see all of these gift cards and insurance cards and these important documents. I was like, oh yeah, that's where it was. Yeah. And as I'm cleaning out, I find this wallet, and inside the wallet has all these different cards, and one of the cards in there was a loyalty card. And it was a loyalty card to my favorite coffee shop in LA, and I was so mad. Because I was like, how many free coffees did I miss out? Because I didn't bring my loyalty card. And I go and think, can I bring it back? Can I be like, hey, I show you all the receipts of the coffees I bought. Can you stamp my card now? I wanted the validation of those points. And I was just looking at that card and seeing those hole punches. And I realized we as a people, we understand the value of loyalty. We know, businesses know that far before they're trying to figure out how they can get your money, they're trying to figure out how they can get your loyalty. That we are creatures that are drawn to one another. We do not simply make choices out of relationship. It's always in the context of relationship. And loyalty is this aspect of human relationships that before someone can have your love, they first need to have your loyalty. So I want to take some time tonight and have a conversation about the human connection and the necessity for us to become people of loyalty. There's this passage, in fact, a couple that I want to go through, that I feel like the scriptures talk about why this is an important matter for us. First, in Proverbs chapter 3, verses 1-4, it says this: my child, never forget the things I have taught you. Store my commands in your heart. If you do this, you will live many years, and your life will be satisfying. That sounds amazing. Anybody right there, do you want your life to be satisfying? 7 people. Okay, to anybody else in this room that you want your life to be full and satisfying? Anybody out there? So here it is. It's giving us the framework. If we want to satisfy, here it is. Verse 3, never let loyalty and kindness leave you. Whoo, see, you wasn't ready for that. Never let loyalty and kindness leave you. Tie them around your neck as a reminder. Write them deep within your heart. Then you will find favor with both God and people, and you will earn a good reputation. Man, this is such a powerful passage of Scripture where it says, I know we all have a desire. We all want to live a fulfilling life. We all want to live a satisfying life. At the end of our day, we want to go, man, my life was worth it. But the conversation has not about whether your life is fulfilled. It's going to be about how many things I give you. It's not going to be how many successes you're unleashed in. It's not going to be how many friends that you have. You know what it says? If you want your life to be satisfying, be a person of loyalty and kindness. And then even more than that, it says never let it leave you. And the reason that's important, because if it can leave us, that means that we got to choose to keep it. And I think a lot of people, a lot of times in our own life, we make the initial decision of loyalty. I'm loyal. Like Kendrick said, loyalty, loyalty, loyalty. And when we decide it, whether we're in a marriage and we decide it on a wedding day, or whether we are finally in that job that we love and we sign those papers and that contract, or whether it's a church that you've been praying for and finally connected, we make these declarations of loyalty at the beginning, but loyalty is never lived out at the beginning. It's actually lived out in every difficult moment from that point forward. That the way that you prove your loyalty is not in the still waters. It's when the waves are crashing and it'd be so easy to bail. And you remember the moment you said, I chose loyalty now because I was going to need it then. See, there's these two individuals in the scriptures that really embody what it looks like to be people of loyalty. And in 1 Samuel chapter 14, it says, starting in verse 1, one day, Jonathan, son of Saul, said to his young armor bearer, come, let's go over to the Philistine outpost on the other side, but he did not tell his father. Okay, let's pause there for a second before we continue. See, this is essential at the beginning of this passage. The very first phrase, it says what? One day. One day. See, for Jonathan, this day was like any other day, except for the fact that he decided beforehand, this is not going to be just one more day. This day is going to be different. See, I think so many of us, we want change. We want God to do something new. We want a freshness, but nothing will change if we do not first change. See, and every day will be the same until you longer, oh, hello, no, what am I saying? No? Every day, I'm like, tongue twister, pause. Here we go. Because this is important. See, every day will be the same until you choose you no longer want to be the same. See, he said one day, they decided that if no one will do something, we will. They decided that it's not about how everyone else acts, but we must make choices that create a new future. And it says, one day, Jonathan said to his young armor bearer, come, let's go over to the outpost on the other side, but he did not tell his father. And then verse 6, Jonathan said to his armor bearer, come, let's go over to the outpost of those uncircumcised men. Here it is. Perhaps the Lord will act in our behalf. Nothing can hinder the Lord from saving, whether by many or by few. Such a fascinating moment in the life of Jonathan. Right, if anybody watch Braveheart, make some noise, you're a Braveheart fan, all right? Man, if you have not seen Braveheart, I don't know what to do with you. I'm sorry. Go home right now. That's your homework. Go watch Braveheart, right? It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And there's this amazing moment of Mel Gibson, William Wallace. And he's on the battlefield, and he's giving this speech to this men that this is probably going to be it, or we're outnumbered, we're probably going to be defeated, and his face is half painted blue, right? Just what dudes do on a Friday, right? And he just gives this wartime speech, and he talks about freedom, and it's for Scotland, and no one will stop us. And everything, yeah! It's like the most epic speech of all time. See, this here speech from Jonathan, what would be the opposite of that? Here's whole Jonathan's speech. He says, maybe God will show up. Maybe he won't. Yeah! I mean, somebody should have been like, hey, Jonathan, that's not gonna work. What you gotta do is you gotta say, hey, guess what? I had a dream last night. God told me. He told me that it's gonna work. God told me we have victory. He promised it, that the moment we step out, it's ours. That's what he should have said. But there's a problem with that. That would have made Jonathan a liar. And God is not looking for liars. He's actually looking for people of courage. That it's not about God declaring and promising that the victory is waiting. It's God saying, I'm standing in the field waiting for you. When are you gonna show some courage? Let's go. Because Jonathan understood that before he would step into his greatness, before he could ever become who he was created to be, he had to become a person of loyalty. And if we're going to model the spirit of Jonathan and step into who we are destined to become, then there's a few things that we have to learn. And the first thing you have to learn is you got to learn how, let me find my notes. You got to learn how to be loyal to the cause. You ever met those people who are like just loyal to causes? And like they're like my hashtag friends, right? Hashtag like World Dolphin Day. And they're just all these videos about dolphins. Or hashtag World Ostrich Day. And the next day it's like hashtag National Ostrich Day. But you have those people that are committed to cause. See, I am so thankful. I have friends that care so much about the clean water crisis in the world that they're doing something about it. See, I'm so thankful that I have people in my life that understand that there's issues dealing with our climate, and if we don't do something about it, it's not just that we'll be affected, it's the generations to come will be affected. See, I'm so thankful that there are people that care so much about justice, that when injustice happens, they rise up and say, stop, no more. See, there are people in our lives that live this out, that if you're going to become a person of loyalty, then the first thing you have to do is you have to be loyal to a cause, to something that is bigger than yourself. To ask yourself, what do I ask of people? What do I require of people? Am I looking for people that are simply loyal to this moment, or they're loyal for what the moments are to come? And that's the conversation that God is having with us and that he has with Jonathan and his armor bearer. They have no idea what the future holds. They have no idea if God is going to show up. They have no idea if victory is ahead of them. They just know that they cannot stay where they are. See, I think God is waiting for us to be sick and tired about where we are now. And he said, the way that you prove that you're done with who you are now is you make changes to who you are now so you can become who you need to be. And we step into this. Man, I think God is so tired of us praying these boring prayers that God, tell me what to do. He's like, man, I already did. Again and again. How many times do you want me to tell you? How many times do you want me to show you? I think God's like, stop asking me what you want me to do. You already know it. Start asking me for the courage to do what you already know you need to do. Man, isn't it so boring when you know how things are going to happen? Isn't it? I think so often we want certainty. We want to know what's happening ahead of us. God, tell us what's coming. But certainty is the death of adventure. And God is always calling us to adventure. He says, no, I'm not going to pave the way for you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a machete in your hand and say, go chop those vines. There is a path on the other side, but I'm not going to clear it for you. The way that you clear it is you have courage and you go. You create it. First time I ever met my wife was at Mosaic, and I actually didn't see her. The first thing I saw was her Italian leather boots. And I saw these boots, and they were brown, and I remember like yesterday, there was a little flap on the top. They were knee-high and a little flap, and they just looked so smooth. And I thought, whoever wears those boots that are so dope, I gotta know. And so I was like, I'm gonna find them boots later. And so after the gathering, I just started looking, where are the boots? Where you at? And then it was like, is this the movies? I looked across the room and I saw the owner of those boots. And I was there, and it was like I was like Michael B. Jordan. Just go there with me, right? I'm Michael B. Jordan, just looking dashing. And she's on the other side of the room, and she, it's like Brie Larson, she's on the other side, and we're walking, and then the wind is blowing in my hair. I don't even have hair, but it's blowing, And all of a sudden it starts raining. We're indoors, but it's raining, right? And we just have this moment where we come to and we just start talking, and I cannot tell you how beautiful that moment was, that the seeds of love began in that moment. I remember thinking, man, I really want to let you know that if you'll trust me, I can give you my loyalty and my heart will come with it. See, I couldn't have seen how our story would play out. I couldn't have seen all that God would do in and through us. I just knew that there was something in me that was being called to something greater than even just a romance. See, in that moment, I felt like God saying, I'm going to use your marriage to reclaim marriage. I'm going to use your story of trust and faithfulness to remind everybody who's been heartbroken that there's still hope. And early on, we planted seeds of faithfulness because we wanted to be loyal to a cause, not just to our relationship, but to the belief that God has found in commitment and loyalty. See, what are the things that your loyalty, what are the things that God is calling you to? What are the things that require more of you, so you have to elevate your sacrifice because it's people that matter the most? And there's this moment where Jonathan lays it out. And he says, I can't promise you that God's going to show up. I have no idea. Maybe God will move. Maybe he won't. And then verse 7, check out his armor bearer's response. He says, do all that you have in mind. Go ahead. I'm with you, heart and soul. You got to have brothers like that. He says, go ahead, do all that you have in mind. I'm with your heart and soul. He's saying, even if this costs us our life, I want you to know that it's worth it. See, it's more than that. The reason he told them that I'm willing to go into the fight with you, the reason he said, do all that you have in mind is because he wasn't just loyal to a cause, he was loyal to a person. And that's just as important, that before you'll ever be loyal to a people, you have to choose to be loyal to a person. And it starts with one, and this armor bearer, I promise you, the reason he gave Jonathan his loyalty is because he saw moment after moment when Jonathan gave him his. And it was this reciprocal relationship, this friendship, this brotherhood, where they're like, let's go. Let's go into the battle. Let's risk it all. Do all that you have in mind. And I think it's this moment that helps us understand a couple truths about who God is and what he looks for. See, God does not always look for the most qualified or the most talented, but he will always look for the most committed. He will always look for those individuals, those women and men that when it can become so easy to bail, you choose to stay. Man, I can't tell you how thankful I am for people in my life like Dominique Ashawn Jones. Some of y'all are like, who that? See, even I love the fact that you don't know who he is, because it's not about you knowing who he is. It's actually about him choosing to serve and sacrifice without any expectation of anything. See, Dom Jones is what I look like when I work out in my head. Dom, can you stand up for a second? Just stand up, yeah. Just stand up, Dom. Yeah. No, stay standing. Don't sit down. Sit down. See, this is a moment where I'd be like, ladies, it's your moment, but he married, so back up, all right? His wife is right there. She like, he my boo, yeah? See, Dom is the type of guy where we've had conversations where I've said things to Dom, I've offended Dom, I've hurt his feelings. I've given Dom every single reason to bail. See, he's texted wanting to hang, this morning, he texted wanting to hang out. We're gonna go to the gym together. I text him and say, hey bro, not gonna happen, love you though. See, I can't tell you how many times that I have given Dom a reason to cut bait. But I can't tell you how many times that was not an excuse for him to pull back, but he leaned in more because he said, my commitment isn't about whether I like you. My commitment is because this is a thing that we're doing together and it matters. See, you gotta have people in your life like Dom Jones who live out being a person of loyalty. See, it's not loyalty when you're simply around people that always you agree with, that always make your life easier, that give you no challenge and correction. Man, if the only people you have in your life are people that are saying good things about you and elevate, that's beautiful, but if they don't actually speak into your life, you haven't given them space to show their loyalty. It's only when we rub each other, when we create friction and conflict. See, that's the space when you get to see what people are made of. And you get to see, are you just loyal to the moment or are you loyal to the movement? And they're two different things. And then right after, when this armor bearer says, do all that you have in mind, and with you, heart and soul, they have this moment where they go, we want to see if God's with us. And so they create this whole scenario, and they say, if they do this, we'll know that God is saying go. And if they don't, then we'll know that this isn't a moment for us. And they get the confirmation that they're asking for. And then in verse 11, it says, so both of them showed themselves to the Philistine outpost. Look, said the Philistines, the Hebrews are crawling out of their holes they were hiding in. The men of the outpost shouted to Jonathan, his armor bearer, come up and we'll teach you a lesson. And so Jonathan said to his armor bearer, climb up after me. The Lord has given them into the hand of Israel. In verse 13, Jonathan climbed up using his hands and his feet with his armor bearer right behind him. And the Philistines fell before Jonathan. And his armor bearer followed and killed behind him. And in that first attack, Jonathan and his armor bearer killed some 20 men in an area of about half an acre. See, this is a really fascinating moment because if you know anything about the context, right, the job of an armor bearer is that you are to hold someone's sword until they go into battle. You thought your job sucked. It was a suicide mission. If you didn't have any way to protect you, you were vulnerable, and you carried that person's sword, and the moment they went to fight, you gave that to them. So imagine in this moment, his armor bearer knew that this is it. Someone's gonna kill him, and I'm next. And this would have been every reason to bail. But it wasn't anything other than his loyalty that kept him in that moment. Because he said, I'm not with you because I know we're going to win. I'm with you because I'm with you. And he went into this battle. And the language is so important. See, because it says that Jonathan went. He said he went, climbed up, his armor bearer right behind him. But then it says that the Philistines fell before Jonathan. See, and that's key. Because there was this movement that happened, and all of a sudden, God showed up in a way that he did not show up before. And it says the Philistines fell before Jonathan. So you don't realize that when you act with loyalty, when you act with faith, when you act trusting in the living God, that he will actually go before you. And then you'll step into a moment not realizing that a victory has already been won. See, we want the victory after the faith. God's saying there will be no victory without the faith. And then it says that his armor bearer followed behind him and killed. See, that doesn't make any sense. Because his armor bearer doesn't have a sword. We established that. So how could he follow and kill? Was he a kung fu master? Was he UFC, MMA? How could he kill people? They had swords, he did not. What happened? See, what happened was the moment that first soldier was defeated, all of a sudden a sword now became available. See, we don't go somewhere. See, we want the sword before the battle. We want the provision before the faith. We want the resource before the trust. And God's saying, you don't realize it's not till you bring loyalty and trust that it's going to unlock the resource. When they stepped into that battle, they had one sword. They had one weapon. But what they failed to realize is that loyalty was a weapon that they had far before that moment. See, we fight with weapons not of this world. See, we fight with weapons when other people use violence and hatred. We use compassion and hope. See, when other people are saying, I'm done with you, I'm ready to see your end. See, man, I can't tell you how much my heart breaks when I hear one more person that's killed unmercifully. My heart breaks when people step into moments of injustice. See, I know God's heart breaks. I think he's sitting there trying to ask us, when is yours going to break? When are you going to invite me into this? When are you going to trust me with all the parts that you've been holding back, that you've been keeping from me? See, I think so many times we want the victory. We want to be Jonathan with the sword. We want to be Jon Snow. Jonathan Snow. But we don't realize that God's like, if I can't trust you with someone's armor, I can't trust you with someone's sword. I want to see, are you willing to serve? Are you willing to pledge a loyalty and a trust and a faith and a commitment to someone else? See, because the thing about loyalty is it's not actually about the other person, it's about you. And that you deciding that you don't have to earn this, I'm going to give it to you no matter what. Right? There is a part of blind loyalty that can be unhealthy and disruptive and really a negative thing. But there's something about you just letting people know that you don't have to earn this. You don't have to perform for it. That's actually what can happen in human relationships, is that we can give each other our loyalty and our trust and our faith and saying, I believe in who you are. Man, I think it's time we stop reminding people who they were and we start helping tell people who they are going to be. Future. See, Jonathan and his armor bearer, they couldn't have known what God was going to do. They couldn't have known what was going to be unleashed. See, it wasn't just about them. It was actually bigger than them. Because in verse 12, you'll notice what Jonathan says. As he says, climb up after me. And the Lord has given them into the hand of Israel. See, that's so important, because he doesn't say the Lord has given them into my hands. He says, the Lord has given them into the hand of Israel. He understood that this victory was not just for him. See, your greatest successes and your greatest victories are never supposed to be just for you. Who is the nation that's supposed to be blessed behind your victory? See, when you fight that battle and you win, when you tell despair and depression you're not going to win today, see, you give somebody else hope that they can fight that same battle. See, every moment that when we defeat something that had mastery over us, it gives other people permission to grab the sword and to say, we're going to battle and we're going to fight, so that we can let other people know that their victory is waiting for them as well. Because we have to decide that we're going to be loyal to a cause. We have to decide that we're going to be loyal to a person. But maybe the most important thing that we have to decide is that we're going to be loyal to the end. Man, because if you're not loyal to the end, were you ever really loyal in the first place? And I think there's a whole lot of marriages. There's a whole lot of friendships. There's There's a whole lot of relationships in the world that they didn't actually end because the love end or because the joy end or because the commitment end. I think they ended because the loyalty stops. You got to be loyal to the end. Man, if you love Mosaic, I'm so thankful. I'm so glad you're here. If we haven't hurt you yet, just keep coming. Man, because that's what happens in human relationships, right? We are going to wound one another. But what's important to remember is, yes, we're going to wound one another, but it's also us who are going to heal one another. And it's in community, and it's through this human connection where we get to take on metals and characteristics and attributes like loyalty. Or we tell people, I'm going to dig in deep now because I want you to know that you matter. See, came a point in me and Beck's relationship when I knew it's time. I'm ready to propose, and that nerve-wracking moment when guys, right, when we're about 99% sure she's going to say yes, but that 1% terrifies us. And I wanted to make it really special and meaningful, and so leading up to it, one of our favorite passages in the scriptures is the story about the Israelites crossing the Jordan on the way to the promised land. And God parts the sea, and then afterwards he says, I want you to go back into the river, grab 12 stones and build a memorial. Because when your kids look at this memorial, they're going to ask, what do these mean? And you can tell your kids about what I did today, about how I was loyal to you in this moment, and I'll be loyal to you in every moment moving forward. It's this beautiful story. And I said, that's it. We're going to have stones of remembrance. And so I just started gathering these stones, and every time we go on a date, I would give her a stone, and I would write stone of remembrance number 1. And on the back, I would write love. And then stone of remembrance number 2 would be patience and sacrifice and adventure. And every stone was a new rock that I wanted our relationship to be founded on. And then the 12th stone would be the engagement ring. And I had this whole story in my head. It was going to be beautiful. And then I'm going to tell you what happened. And that day, I wanted to fill the day with things that she loves, with people she loves. So I picked her up in the morning, and she loves fitness. And so we went out and we worked out. And then a friend picked her up and took her to coffee because she loves coffee. And then after that, another friend took her to a store because she loves fashion, and she picked out the dress she would wear when I proposed to her later. And then another friend took her to lunch and then put her on a train from LA to Santa Barbara. And then I was in Santa Barbara waiting for her right on the beach. I set up a picnic. But before she got to me, another friend picked her up in Santa Barbara, took her to coffee, because did I say my wife really likes coffee? And then finally, it's me on the beach. And it's the moment. I'm so excited. And she's just telling me about the whole day. She's like, oh my God. And then I went, and the coffee was divine. And she's like, and then I went and I picked out this dress, as if I didn't plan the whole thing. I'm like, yeah, cool, sounds great. Yeah. And we're sitting there, and I'm so nervous. And so on this spread, there's grapes, and there's crackers, and there's chocolates, and roses, the most random spread of all time. And as she's telling me all this, I just keep popping grapes in her mouth, right? And just feeding her grapes. And finally she's like, I don't want any more grapes, stop. I'm like, I don't know, do you want a cracker? No. Just a mess. And then I had a couple friends that were there documenting, taking photos. And one friend is 5 yards behind us in the bushes. Really creepy, huh? And he's taking photos. And then I have another friend about 50 yards down getting a long shot, with sunset, right? All for the gram, you know what I'm saying, And all of a sudden, we're sitting there, and I feel my wife start to turn to her left. And at the same time as she turns to the left, my friend who's taking photos is out taking photos. I'm like, oh no! Oh, she sees him, it's ruined. The whole point is a surprise. No, I'm like, what do I do? And she's turning, I was like, what do I do? So I did what any rational human being on the planet did, and I slapped her in the face. Yeah, I did. Now, hold on a second, all right? Look, we are in church. This is a safe space. There's no judgment. There's no condemnation, right? So that's, I see the way you're looking at me, right? But yes, I physically assaulted my soon-to-be wife. And as you can imagine, I slapped her. She's like, did you just slap me? And I was like, I was trying to shoo a fly. Horrible. I'm like, I gotta get this over with. I'm a mess. So I pick her up, and it gets worse. See, I had the ring box in my jacket, in my pocket, but it was a ceramic ring box, and it was 2 parts. And every time I walked, it clanged. The top hit the bottom, so I gotta separate them. So I put one part in one pocket and the other in another pocket. And so my friends who are documenting this beautiful moment, every photo is my hand in a different pocket. And I'm talking about it like, hey, babe, like, like, you're my girl and all. And like, man, I want to spend the rest of my life with, yeah, girl, you ridiculous. It's horrible. But then finally, God in all of his mercy and compassion, he helps me find that ring, and then I get on a knee, and I tell her, man, see, there's gonna be a moment when our kids are gonna look at this ring, and they're gonna ask, what does it mean? And then we get to tell them the story of how God took this hobbit from New Zealand. My wife's from New Zealand, if you didn't know that, yeah. And this brother from Arizona, just as rare as a hobbit. And he brought their stories together. That we together would make a decision, that we would not make choices simply for our own gain, but for the gain of others. And I said, man, if you'll allow me to, what I'm gonna give you in this moment, I'm not just gonna give you this ring. I'm not just gonna give you my love. I'm not just gonna give you my heart. What I'm committing to you right now and from this moment forward is that I'm gonna give you my loyalty, and you do not need to earn it for 1 second. And we've been building on that moment ever since. I can't tell you how many hard days we had. I can't tell you how many moments that I blew it, that I fell short, that I was selfish. But I can't tell you how many moments that it was in the heart of that. When both of us could have chosen to bail. Both of us could have said, this is too hard, it's not worth it. But the reason those markers in our life are important is because it's as if it's an anchor that we drop. It says, I'm gonna need this one day. So I'm gonna commit to you right now. I'm gonna commit to be yours right now. I'm gonna commit to give you everything right now so that when I don't feel like it later, I'm gonna choose loyalty. I'm not gonna choose my feelings. And I think for a lot of us here tonight, there's a first conversation that we need to have with God. Is that, God, I've had people that have betrayed my trust. I've had people that have proven their unworthiness, and I don't want to be loyal because I've seen how much it can wound you and it can hurt you. And I think there's so many of us here tonight where God's saying, I see your wounds. I see your betrayals, but I want you to understand is that that's why I'm here. Because I am the one that if you allow me to, I will be loyal to you to the end. But it first has to begin with a choice where you say yes to Jesus, where you realize that his example of loyalty to you was when he gave up his life so that you could find yours. And he would allow himself to be mocked and ridiculed and humiliated and killed. Because he wanted you to know that you're worth it. He wanted you to know there's going to be a day when you would need him the most. And maybe for you, that day is today. And he proved to you his loyalty on that cross. He proved to you that if you'll allow him to, His love is a free gift that you can have from now into eternity, but he will not force it. He'll only compel you to love. So if you're here and you're ready to just align your heart with God, you're ready to give him every ounce of your heart and your soul, you're ready to pledge your loyalty to the God who loves you, then I'm going to give you an opportunity to say yes to Jesus right now. If we could all bow our heads and close our eyes. If that's you and you're in this room right now, or you're listening on live stream and you're ready to trust Jesus with your life, then what I want you to do is I want you to pray this simple prayer right now. I want you to say, Jesus, I give you my life. Say it to him. Jesus, I give you my life. Just right now. It's a moment between you and him. Tell him what you're going to do. Tell him that you're going to give him your heart. Tell him that you're going to be loyal to him. Tell him that you receive all of his love. Just say, Jesus, I give you my life. Right now, give him all your fears, all your anxieties, all your worries, all the things that just have been weighing you down, been so heavy, and you've been carrying it for far too long. And he's just standing right there saying, just give it to me. Just lay it at my feet. Let it go. Because if you'll give it to me, what I'm going to give you is I'm going to give you freedom. And I'm going to give you grace. And I'm going to give you mercy. I'm going to give you kindness. I'm going to give you hope. I'm going to give you peace. Jesus, I give you my life. If you prayed that prayer and you said yes to Jesus right now, what I want you to do is I'm going to ask you to, in a second, to raise your hand so that I can see you, because I want to pray for you. I want to pray that God would fill you with his love. He would fill you with his hope. But first, I need you to step out of the shadows and into the light. Jesus, I give you my life. If that was you right now, I want you to raise your hand as high as you can. It's between you and God. I want you to raise your hand. Beautiful. I see you. I see you. Keep it up. I want to see you. I want you to know that God sees you. Beautiful. Anyone else? Anyone else? Jesus, I give you my life. It's beautiful. Father, I pray for everybody that raised their hand tonight, who made a decision to trust you with everything. God, I pray that they would just be overwhelmed with your love right now, Father. I pray that they would swim in your grace, that you would remove all the ounces of guilt and shame that they stepped into this room with, and they could know that there's nothing that they could do that would keep them from your love. God, I pray right now that they would receive everything that you have. God, whatever you need to say to them right now, Jesus, I want you to whisper it to the depths of their soul. Tell them that they belong to you, Father. Tell them that they matter. Tell them that they are yours. God, I just thank you. Thank you so much that from the beginning of time to the end of time, God, you are the one who is always showing us how much you matter to us. You're always living out a life of loyalty, and I pray, Jesus, that we would do the same. I pray that we would meet you in this, that we would elevate our sacrifice and our intention, that we would become the humanity that you had in mind. We love you, Jesus. We thank you and ask this in your name. Amen and amen. Hey, Mosaic, right now, can we thank God for everyone who made a decision tonight? You said yes. Beautiful. Man, I love that. This is why we're here. There's a human connection that must happen. That when we bring all the best parts of ourselves to a room, when we decide to show up, see, maybe the most spiritual thing that you could ever do in your life is just to show up. And I think so often in our lives, we're like, God, why aren't you there? God, why won't you show up? God, I'm ready. And I think he's like, I'm going to show up as soon as you're willing to step up. And I wonder for you this week, what is a choice that you can make? One small shift in your life that you could choose to be more loyal to a cause, more loyal to a person. You can choose to say now, I want to be loyal to the end before it gets difficult. And then this week, let people know that I don't know what has happened to you. I don't know who's betrayed you, but I'm letting you know is that I'm a person that I'm going to give you my loyalty and it's yours to the end. Because I think people are looking for women and men that are having relationships saying, I'm not here for what you can give me. I'm here for what we can do together. Because LA is a city that knows how to do isolation really well, knows how to do betrayal really well, knows how to do flakiness really well. So I think it's time that we write a new story where we become the ones that make loyalty the marker of our future. Love you guys.